you need to listen to your body in terms of, not, ignoring proper hunger cues, because at some point you're going to have those cues where you need to listen to them. You can't shut yourself down and then restrict yourself, and then you're back to the place you were before. Here's one I hear all the time, and this is definitely something that we need to explain. Listen to your body. What does that mean to you in this process? Like, now we've, balanced nutrition is one thing we need. Next is like, listen to your body. What does that mean to your, how can we interpret that better for the viewers to understand what that means? Because listen to your body could be like, you listen to your body say I'm hungry all the time, you're just eating your face off.
Yeah, I mean, it's got to be phase dependent, right? And I think even the definition of listen to your body and intuitively let how you feel make decisions. I mean, when we break that down, I mean, you're basically saying, "Hey, these decisions around my program are going to be emotionally driven." Now, are there times where that's acceptable and even I would say favorable? Yes. In bodybuilding, should we be leaning into our emotions to make our decisions? Likely not. Likely, especially towards the tail end, and I mean, gosh, post show, we're often going to find that our emotions are they're valid, but like they are driving us to do things that are actually counterproductive for what our goal is. So I do I don't love the idea of encouraging a beginner athlete or even someone who is less experienced with tracking macros or even just following a structured program. I don't love encouraging them to eat intuitively because, I mean, myself, like my ghrelin and leptin have been dysregulated. Like the signaling of these hormones hasn't always been very stable. And I think in the past, when I've just listened to what I wanted to do or physiologically those drives, I found that that's actually going to lead me to overconsume or in cases in times of stress, underconsume. And I think especially for clients who previously have struggled with any kind of ED, you really need to be aware as the coach, like, hey, what is this athlete's tendency? Is it to overdo it or underdo it? And are they in an appropriate phase where I can encourage them that looseness around decision making? But I think especially when it comes to contest prep, we do have to put our emotions kind of in the back seat and be like, hey, they can be helpful, but should they be driving the ship? No. Like they shouldn't be the final say unless you're in a position where you're actually considering like, hey, if I don't make this decision that may or may not be emotionally driven, I won't be able to continue on in this phase.
I would like, so I like to add to, like, I don't like the, I'm for and against the listen to your body. Because I think it's important as a competitor. Yeah, we need to listen to our body, and as a, as just someone normally just doing a transformation of any sort, I think listening to our body is important in terms of understanding your biofeedback, in a sense of, what is my body doing, and how it's responding, and then what are the results for that. So, like, if I'm coaching somebody, and throughout prep, I have both competitor or just your regular normal client. I have them answer questions on a week to week basis that they have to listen to their body in terms of, like, not listen to it say I'm hungry then eat emotionally, but more so, how hungry were you getting in between meals? And again, it is phase dependent too, right? So at the beginning of prep, or the beginning of your journey, or weight loss journey, whatever it is, your body transformation, you know, at the beginning of your phase, how hungry are you getting in between meals? Are you getting hungry really quick, an hour after you eat a meal? I think that's way too early, at the very start, and that could be problematic during down the road, that you're already starving or whatever. How are you recovering? How's your digestion? How are you digest, like, how many times you go to the washroom a day, or taking number one or two, whatever, right? Um, how is your sleep in terms of, like, are you well rested? Are you getting up all the time? Is it disturbed? How is your progress in the gym? Are you getting stronger, or are you maintaining strength? There shouldn't be a drop off of strength or performance at the beginning of anyone's journey. So when it comes, like, listening to your body, I look at as that more so than us being like, listen to your emotions. Because when it comes to, the athlete being, say, like, at a maintenance phase, or they're at a very sustainable place, or say they have been at a place where they're eating way too less food, and they're, maybe not consciously, or like say unconsciously restricting themselves, and they need to get back to a place, maybe listening to their body say, hey, eat food, and not ignore those types, especially people who are coming back from EDs. It's very important that they do listen to their body cues. I work with some people who have been, who have suffered with anorexia and bulimia, and they restrict themselves, or the point where they're mostly bulimia, where I don't want to eat any food now, I'm too scared because if I eat, then that happens. Where it's like, you need to listen to your body in terms of, not, ignoring proper hunger cues, because at some point you're going to have those cues where you need to listen to them. You can't shut yourself down and then restrict yourself, and then you're back to the place you were before. So for me, it is I'm on both sides of, if we're listening to our body, we're listening to it in a constructive way, where we are understanding what are our body cues, to know that, at the end of the week, here are the results, and here's why these results happened.
Yeah,
Yeah.
gosh, I love that you opened that up because I think the nature of it being constructive and then knowing, okay, here's what I can do with this biofeedback. I mean, because that really is what our role is as a coach, is teaching athletes that at the end of the day, when they're done working with us, they in theory should be able to do this on their own. They should have learned generally the format so that, I mean, hey, hopefully they love working with us enough, they keep working with us, but they're still, that skill is now developed and they're a little more autonomous. And I think that does come from uh, understanding the criteria in which you can measure things like daily hunger, and even contrast that with, is this expected? Should I be feeling as hungry as I'm feeling? I mean, I think I do something very similar where I have them track the strength metrics like on a daily basis. So, did you go down? Did you maintain? Did you improve? What's your hunger on a scale of 1 to 10? Bowel movements, yes or no? Like, I mean, these are all things that you do have to have some audit around, knowing on a weekly basis, regardless of phase, how's your body doing. And then there's actually, under my subjective feedback, and I'm this is something I've put in place for a while now, which I find really helpful. It's the athlete's perception around the rate of change. So is it slower or faster than they're expecting? And I kind of walk them through this on our initial consult, because I need to know, like, if this is someone who historically has struggled with ED, if they're used to seeing the scale go down 3, 4 pounds in a week, which we know that can sometimes be the case with individuals who are further on that spectrum. If I'm taking them through a fat loss phase that I deem is very aggressive, and we're losing at a rate of 1.4% per week, for a female who's, the 120 pounds, I mean, that's a significant drop from that individual's frame. Now, if that individual is used to losing at double that, and they start this program, they start prep, and they're like, this is giving me anxiety because it's so much slower than what I'm used to. Or on the contrast, you have an individual who's like, hey, I've never lost more than a pound a week. So seeing 0.8 pounds drop off the scale every week, this is a little too aggressive, or it feels aggressive. I mean, I think having that dialogue with them and really keeping a pulse on what their perception is of the rate of change, I think that can give you a lot of insight as a coach, because then it tells you, like, hey, are they comfortable with what we're doing? Like, are they comfortable with how fast or slow we're going? Because I mean, ultimately, like, everyone's perception, it can be different. And really, if you don't know your client's perception, if you don't know the mental state that they're in, I mean, it can lead you to taking this client through a phase that, one way or the other is too aggressive or too conservative.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. No, that's a great point. Yeah, I say more about that. That's dead on. Yeah.